Been moved to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is the consent agenda.
I'm looking through, we had an addition, that's what I'm looking through right now. Was that in our packet, Amber? I maybe got it all turned around. Okay, thank you. No? Yeah, I didn't see it.
It's in the online packet,
Oh, okay.
apparently. I don't have it either.
Okay, so it is this Saturday. It's called the Maple Leaf Chill Zone. It will be here from 8 to 5. They are they're having barbecue and beer. I'm drawing a blank on the place that's gonna be serving. But because it is at a city building, we have to do a special event in order for them to have the alcohol. So it's the resolution. I guess the special event did not get included. So their advertisement, it was 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Grab some delicious barbecue from Bucket List Barbecue. Kick back and watch your favorite games on the big screen, whether you're taking a break from festival fun or just looking for a laid-back spot to unwind with each other. So that's where the barbecue is from, and then beers.
Any comments or discussion?
So it's just because it's a city building, we have to approve whether or not they can sell alcohol?
And typically Maple Leaf, that's not something that they allow, so they want to make sure it stays in the building and not doesn't go outside. Also, just to add, for the liquor license and tobacco license, that's because of a new owner. They've already re-upped this year, but somebody just purchased
Say that one more time?
On the Baldwin Corner
Oh.
liquor.
Oh, that's where it's being supplied from.
No. That's a separate one.
Oh, who's supplying the liquor? Who's supplying the beer?
No. Are you talking about?
The barbecue joint is supplying the beer as well? They have a catering license, they're supplying the beer?
Any further discussion? Comments? Not all. Entertain a motion.
I move to. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
I'm going to abstain. I
Okay.
wasn't here last week.
This just got thrown to all of us.
Can't approve the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Motion passes 4-1. Anybody here from the public like to speak something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Special reports and presentations. Do we have anybody here for this, Amory?
Thought she was coming, I tried calling her because I wasn't sure if she was gonna go to the other place or not, but she didn't respond.
Okay, I can just read it in then. This is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is whereas in the United States, more than 12 million adults experience domestic violence annually, with an average of 20 people every minute experiencing these heinous acts. Whereas in the state of Kansas, one domestic violence incident occurs every 24 minutes, and one domestic violence murder occurs every 10 days, with one domestic violence incident reported every 23 minutes. Whereas the impact of domestic violence is felt not only by the individuals and families, but also by communities and a nation as a whole. Whereas Baldwin City joins the others across the state of Kansas and nationwide in supporting domestic violence victims and survivors, the advocates and organizations who serve them, and holding offenders accountable in our community. Now therefore, I, Casey Semino, Mayor of Baldwin City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And in recognition of the critical work being done by domestic violence advocates and allies in service of the survivors and the victims they serve, I encourage all citizens to actively engage in the scheduled activities and events sponsored by the Willow Domestic Violence Center and other organizations working toward the eradication of domestic violence. With that, we will move to old business. And I'll abstain.
Okay, so this is the second reading of ordinance 1498 pertaining to the annexation of property. If you remember, it's at the corner of East 1750 Road and North 400 Road. So is there anybody here that would like to speak to this agenda item?
Yes, this is ordinance 1498. The petition, a written petition and consent for annexation was filed on August 26, 2024. The property in question is located at East 1750 and North 400 Road. The property contains 31 acres plus or minus.
You have questions for Russ on this? Thanks, Russ. Would the applicant like to address the council on this?
Not unless the council has questions.
I have a question.
Open up for council questions then? Go ahead. Yeah.
How soon are you going to develop this?
I don't have a timetable. I mean, the majority of the reason that we want to do this is for estate planning purposes for our children. So the plat will come to the city after the annexation, but we don't have any specific timetable on when we want to install the water lines or anything like that.
Okay. Because isn't this parcel served by Evergy?
It very well could be, yeah.
So that would be something to consider when you develop, because it'll have to be the city that takes over that.
Well,
As opposed to Evergy.
an outside utility can service within the city. It's up to the city whether they want to purchase that area or not. But we're prepared to work with Evergy as well for electricity.
Okay. Thank you.
Council discussion? You got a question for Casey?
Casey? You being the mayor, what benefit does taking this ground into the city benefit the city? The only thing that you're going to hook up to there is the sewer system. The water is coming from someplace else, and the electricity is from Evergy, so what does the city gain from this?
Well, the city gains on any property tax from anything built within that area.
And in most cases, when we've had to go through a situation like this, it's presented to us like on East 800 or East High Street. They brought in blueprints that showed where the streets were at and the water lines, the sewer lines and all that. Do we have any of that for this?
That comes at the platting process.
That's what?
That's after the plat. When we annexed East High Street, you didn't have that at that point. That comes when the plat comes.
But it's already been annexed in, so how do we know what's going on?
This property has not been annexed in.
But it will be, that's what you're after tonight, isn't it?
And then I have to file for a plat through the planning commission as well as the city council.
And has the planning commission seen this?
I can't bring it to the planning commission until it's been annexed into the city limits.
You can't what?
You don't bring a plat to the planning commission until it's been annexed into the city limits.
Okay, does the county have a planning commission that goes to seize this?
No, because it's part of the city limits once it's annexed.
Does this have to go through the county?
No.
It would have to go through the county if he was denied annexation and chose to develop in the county.
Correct.
But that's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to go annexation first and then go through the platting process, as I understand it.
Also, the city gets 5%, even if the utilities aren't owned by the city, we still have our franchise fee that's charged to every utility ran to those properties. So you still collect 5% on the utility fees.
Is there a period of time when something is annexed into the city that you have to put a dwelling on it or something, like a homestead? Well, a homestead would be out of line because it's not homestead, but a period of time that you have to
No. Well, we've had property annexed in the city for 20 years. It's never been developed.
So what would that process look like as far as, so Evergy provides the electricity and then we have the option to make an offer to Evergy to take over that territory? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, when the city did North Sixth Street, which was before our time, you negotiate with Evergy on if the city wants to purchase that area or not. And if the city doesn't, then the landowner goes through Evergy and the city collects the 5% franchise fee on the utility that's produced in that area.
Is it your plan to hook to the city sewer?
No, because it's 3-acre lots.
I'm sorry?
It's 3-acre lots, so I'm allowed to have septic system on a 3-acre lot.
You sat down there at the library and told a man when he was within 200 feet of the sewer system, he had to hook up to the sewer system. Now, how come what are we doing here?
When was that? I don't recall ever.
The year before last.
I
came in and wanted to hook up to the sewer system, and you said, no, you can't do it because you're 200 feet from the sewer.
don't
Wanted to put in-
believe so. Our ordinance allows for a septic on 3 acres or more.
Is what?
Our ordinance allows for a septic system on 3 acres or more. The,
Wasn't that a water meter on 150, I think? Oh, it was 1600, yeah. Yeah. That was a water meter.
Where is that located? Where is that written? Because I couldn't find anything like that.
I don't recall the ordinance. I'd have to ask Dakota or Russ to,
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't have the ordinance number off the top of my head.
Are we talking about the septic tank ordinance?
Yeah.
So that was, I have a copy of what was passed here. I'm just pulling it up right now. I'm not sure if it's been added since it was passed recently.
It's probably not online.
Give me a second, I can tell you what we're looking at here. So the septic tank ordinance as amended in 2022 reads that the modification was, the amendment was to the size of the parcel, so no permit shall be issued for any private sewage disposal system employing subsurface soil absorption facilities with the area of the lot or parcel is less than 3 acres. And those septic tank or cesspool systems shall be permitted to discharge to any natural outlet. So it has to be a contained system on more than 3 or more acres. So if the lot, this parcel is roughly 31 acres, so you could conceivably divide this into 10 lots that would then meet that requirement for septic tanks on those lots, or some combination where certain lots would be septic and certain wouldn't. Without a plat and without any plans to be down the road, there's no way to say that's in compliance or not. You got to see the plat first.
So if the council decides to annex this land, are we putting the city in liability to pay or buy out the water system, the rural water district, so you can have water, or the electric company? Is the city required to do that then?
That'd be on the property owner to get those services to their property.
So you would still have to do that, or whoever you sell it to will have to do that?
Yes, I would, as the property owner, I would have to,
Now, how
Work
about
with-
streets and curbs and gutters? Do you do that, or does,
it's all part of the plat, yeah,
and when you get the plat, that'll be there?
correct.
That'll be on you?
Yes, but my intent, I mean, the intent is to have all the lots off of the city streets that are currently there. It all abuts city streets. There's no
all
interior,
what?
there's no interior streets to get 3 acres on this land. It all abuts city streets or county roads. There's direct access.
I can't find anything that says you can't do that. And you've answered my questions quite well.
Any other council discussion on this issue? Good? I'll entertain a motion.
We got. Double wants to say something.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Thanks for catching that.
Delbert Sheldon. I've got 2 or 3 concerns. I own some ground between what we're talking about tonight and the city. I've got 40 acres land in there. And I guess my first question is the city going to come after me to go into the city someday? Because I'm in the country. Or are they going to come after me since I'm between the city and if this takes place? That's a big concern with me. And second concern is what I've listened to tonight. If I would decide to develop this 40 acres, can I go ahead and use the real water and Evergy and septics? And I've got 40 acres there. And, that's a concern. You know, it might be a plus if you pass this, but, you know, it's gonna, I developed off 11th Street. I didn't do it. My son did, and I backed him. I had to put in streets, curb and gutter, sidewalks, lights, city lights, street lights, septic, or sewer, electric, the whole 9 yards. A lot of money. And, well, matter of fact, Casey bought it from his son and went ahead and developed it. But that's nothing to do with here. But my last concern is I own Baldwin City Self Storage. Everybody knows, and the hardware store is there next to me. How come the city can take their lawnmowers and drive right past the bank, Napa, me, the hardware store, and Jerry Donnelly's addition, and go clear out past the township hall, or the fire station, township hall, or Palmyra, and mow the frontage out there on that 40 acres that's for sale? Why aren't they mowing my frontage? And that frontage out there has been in the country. Now, I've heard it's came into the city. Maybe not. But they've been mowing it for 15, 20 years, the city. And that's fine. If they was mowing mine and all the other 4 businesses that's paying hellish property tax, and I would like to have that answered tonight, because it's been brought up more than once. I brought it up at this city planning here a while back. And they said, it's not us. Got to talk to council. Well, I was coming tonight to talk about my 40 acres. And I thought, man, this is perfect time to talk about this goddamn mowing job. Excuse my expression, but
So appreciate that. That part doesn't really pertain to this agenda item, and we really don't
okay,
back
true.
and forth, because if I respond to you, they may not agree with what I say. So
True.
it's really something you need to bring that up to
To
the city administrator, ask them,
I've been there.
and, you know, if you got an answer you didn't like, you know, none of us are prepared to talk to you about that because we weren't aware it was an issue. So if it is an issue, work with them to get it on the agenda where we have a time to look at it.
And I know, sure, as I'm standing here, a friend of mine owns that ground. He sells insurance. And I know he sold Wagner, when Wagner was our mayor, the big policy for all his stores. And the payback was mow my frontage. I mean, it's just as clear as standing here. And it's been going on for, well, Wagner's been here over 25 years. I don't know how long it's been. It hasn't been that long since Wagner's been mayor, but
I think you
but anyway, that's not
brought to our attention, so I think we have an opportunity then to go ask some questions about it.
perfect.
Now that we're aware of it,
Yeah.
and get back to you with a response.
Right. I appreciate it.
Happy to do that. And regarding some of the other stuff, and do you have any other comments for this?
Just, I'm concerned about my 40 acres.
Okay.
And if I can develop it the way we're talking tonight, that'll be a big savings for me. Big savings. But is that what the city wants? Septics? Outside water, outside electricity? And, you know, I'd like to have an answer tonight on that, so I'll know.
Well, again, it's not on the agenda specifically, but I think the intent is to have, everybody's treated the same. So whatever works for, whatever the council's approved and ordinances on septic lot size requirements, all that applies to anybody. So that applies. You know, the rural water and electric is going to be the same for anybody that's in those districts and annex. So I think the answer to that question is you need to go ask that question around. I think, correct me if you're wrong, but you have the ability to stay on Evergy. If the city can't work out an arrangement to do that, it's up to the city to determine if we want to go try to buy them out and take on those customers. But it's really, it's handled the same for everybody.
Well,
in regarding annexation, I don't want to get into a debate with you, but
Right.
make sure everybody in the council is aware, and you can disagree if I'm wrong, but we cannot force annexation on anybody.
Right.
We cannot go, we're annexing you. You know, eminent domain's a whole different issue, and I didn't hear you mention eminent domain, but annexation, part of the reason that, my personal opinion is that we need to get parcels annexed when we can is because we can't force anybody to do it. And as soon as somebody comes forward willing, there really is no downside.
Exactly.
The downside is if we wait, the next person may not want to do it. So we can't force an annexation on anybody. And there's no downside, in my opinion, of annexing property into the city. We have the controls around whether we want to take over the electric, if that's not in there. I'm not sure about the water. We have to go look into that. We've already voted, and I know this council voted on the 3-acre ordinance on septic, so we're all a part of that. So that's there. You know, and so I don't see the downside at all in doing this. And if you came forward to annex your 40, our controls are, you come forward with a plat that doesn't meet what our strategic plan or the things we want to do, planning council or planning commission has an opportunity to say, no, this doesn't meet it, and reject it. Even if they pass it, the council has an opportunity to say, no, this is not what we want. So in the end, even after you annex, you have the control, the council has the control to really determine what goes in there. And we're not losing control by annexing. And that's what I want to make sure you're aware of. We don't lose control.
Then what I heard you say in your conversation at first, everybody's treated the same. We're going to come back to my questions. Sidewalks, streetlights, curb.
So there's programs, RID programs, NRP, so there's different programs that developers use to work with the city on property tax abatements to fund all that. So I don't know what happened in your situation, but there are programs that the city has the ability to approve, again, planning commission and the council, that says, you know what, developer pays for everything you just mentioned, but then you get property tax reimbursement to reimburse all of that. The city doesn't get it for that period of time. So there's programs that developers use to do that infrastructure piece. And I don't know if it was available back when you're talking about yours or not, but today it's available. And there are developers using it.
So can I ask for the refund now?
It's not the way it works. I wish it were.
But, you know, I'm just saying,
Yeah, so
it has to be treated equal,
that's,
period.
absolutely agree. I don't think anybody on this
Period.
would disagree that,
And I can still, since I'm in the county, I can go ahead and develop that with the county. And I can have 3 lots every 20 acres.
yeah.
And if I decide to do that, is the city going to step in and say, hey, you're too close to city limits to be doing that? Because I've heard rumors several years ago, right after I bought it, that Gilbert, you're going to be controlled by the city to a certain degree.
Don't know, Delbert. We need it. I mean, that's.
Isn't there like a 3-acre or 3-mile plan? Used to be 2020, but we're past that. For Baldwin having something to say.
There's a plan, and it's available, is it 2008? When do we do that? Long range plan, about 2008?
Long time.
And, and, you know, again, it's just a plan, as we know, and plans change.
What was the plan?
There's a large document about strategic land use plan for
And wasn't that the 2020 deal?
No.
Back then when it came?
2008.
It's old. Yeah.
It's 2008. This is the
Right.
last time I've seen
But
it.
I think it went up to 2020 or something.
Yeah, it could have. So,
That was county, right?
what's that?
That was county.
No, that was a city, but it talked about ideally where the annexation would happen. Again, we can't control it, but it talked about truck routes and residential routes, and it talked about, you know, going from memory, it talked about commercial.
Am I allowed to ask that question to start with?
What's the question?
The one I just asked you.
I don't remember what you just asked me.
You was answering it.
Wow. Thanks, Albert. Anybody else like to speak to this? Any other council discussion?
I just agree with you, Scott. I think a lot of this discussion's kind of been putting the cart before the horse because right now we just want to focus on, do we want to allow this land to be annexed into the city or not? And I don't see a single downside to it because that's property tax that we're gaining and potentially some utilities. And like you said, it allows us that control. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that any opportunity you get to annex land, you have to jump on. I do understand a little bit of the knee jerk as far as a little bit of a slippery slope. Like, oh my gosh, we're all going to develop 3-acre lots surrounding Baldwin. Like, no, there's a plating process. There's a planning commission process. There's a council process where you have a say, yes or no, whether or not those things can happen. And if it aligns, like Scott said, with your strategic plan. So I'm with you both. You see an opportunity, you jump on it.
I think if there's anything wrong with it, it'll eventually come out.
Excuse me, I had one other question. I was at the lodge when all this ground was sold over the internet, when I bought mine. And I know Dave Hill bought 20, Casey bought 20. And I understand we're talking about 31 now. Where's the other 9 acres that was in that plot?
I didn't know it was 40 at one time.
I don't think that's,
Wasn't it 220s?
I don't think that's neither here nor there. I mean, so that's just another question that's not in front of the council. What's in front of the council is whether we want to annex this property. So again, I'm going to ask you to take those questions to the city. If you don't get answers, you've got all of our phone numbers.
So the city,
I would suggest-
the city is not the council?
It is, but I would suggest that you call us ahead of this meeting so we can do some research and give you some answers. You're asking questions that we don't know, and so we have to say, look into it, and if you don't get the answers you want, call us and we'll help you look into it. And then you can come to this and ask a question, we'll have an answer for you. Is that fair? Well, again, approaching the council with new information the night of the second reading is very poor timing to try to get something stopped.
Well, was there, let me ask.
No, Delbert, we're done. This is not a discussion. It's not a discussion. Again, open for a motion on this ordinance.
I move to approve the annexation of East 1750 Road, Ordinance 1498.
I'll second.
We've had a motion and a second. Jerry, how do you vote on that ordinance? Yes or no?
I will. After the conversations that I've just heard, it brings back it brings a thing into my mind. However, it's like I said a while ago, I find nothing wrong with the operation. If there is, it will come out, and I vote yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Mr. Venable?
Aye.
I'm a yes. Julie?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Next agenda item is substation location. Glenn, is this something that we need to take an executive session for? It is. Okay. How long do we need?
Probably about 20 minutes.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for an executive session with the city council, Glenn Rodden, our city administrator, and Dakota Loomis, our city attorney. For 20 minutes.
So moved.
I move that.
Second it or move?
Isn't that what I just?
Oh, is that what you said? Second, yeah.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. We're in executive session till 7:45. Or 7:55, sorry.
Where do we go for this?
Right there.
Right there.
Sure, look, this is